Salam Shalom, welcome to the Muslamic Infidel. I'm having fried chicken, and this is a weekly fix. Now, if you've spent a lot of money on an Xbox One, like myself, and are pissed off at the fact that you cannot play any Xbox 360 games, then good news. Well, sort of. Xbox One backward compatibility may still be possible. Now, Frank Savage, who is a principal lead developer, has said at a Microsoft Build Developer Conference, that there are, and I quote, still plans for an emulator, but we're not done thinking about them through yet. Now, it turns out that emulation is quite hard to achieve on the PowerPC stuff than on the x86 stuff. So there's nothing to announce, but I would love to see it myself. Now, Microsoft have got plans to maybe implement the Azure cloud service to achieve backward compatibility, just like the PlayStation Now service still does. So, fingers crossed. Most comic book nerds will know that David Goyer, who was the principal writer, scriptwriter behind the Dark Knight trilogy as well as Man of Steel, has been in an interview and has said that Warner Brothers would like to get, or would love to get, their DC universe to be a bit more cohesive like Marvel. However, he as himself as a writer has said that that's not necessarily the right way to go about things. Now, he says that Marvel have created a brand like Pixar, and it's really hard to emulate that, which is very, very true. Marvel movies, you'd see that you've got the Phase 1 movies with Iron Man and Thor and so forth, and you've got the Avengers, but then very slowly you're getting sort of the stuff like the Guardians of Galaxy coming through, as well as Avengers 2. Age of Ultron. So they've got a set plan for the films. Now, DC on the other hand don't, because you have your films like Dark Knight trilogy, which Christopher Nolan did, which was a very grounded take on Batman. But as we all know, that Ben Affleck is now taking over as new Batman, so they've completely scrapped what Christopher Nolan did and sort of moving forward with what Man of Steel will be, which is Batman vs Superman, is theoretically what the name is, but we don't know quite yet. However, David Goyer has said that it doesn't really matter because in films there's no brand loyalty. Comic book fans such as myself, and I tend to agree with him. We don't. I would never not say that I will not go watch a Marvel film because I'm personally a DC guy. That's not true. I like I like comic books as a whole. So anything like Sin City, anything like 300, anything to do with Marvel, I'd go watch regardless if Sony are making Spider-Man, Fox are making Fantastic Four, or Marvel and Disney are making Avengers. So in that sense, yes, it is true. But he has said that Warner Brothers want to have some sort of cohesion within their characters, which is I suppose a sensible thing to do. But we will see where that will end up. They need to stop using Zack Snyder to direct their films, personally. Anyway, speaking of which, this picture has been floating around for a long, long time. It is a picture supposedly of Ben Affleck in the new Batman costume. Now, if you remember Christopher Nolan's Batman, and you've got the long pointy ears, but the short pointy ears is what supposedly is what the Batman costume is going to have with the new Batman vs Superman movie. Now, even if the picture is true or correct to wherever it's come from, why it's black and white, we don't know, but a lot of people are agreeing that this is a legitimate picture, or the very, very, very early look at what Ben Affleck's costume is going to look like. It's got small pointy ears, which seems to correlate to the logo that Zack Snyder and his cronies revealed at Comic-Con last year. And finally, Game of Thrones, the best TV show ever made, period, has made its triumphant return for the 4th season on Sunday on Sky Atlantic and HBO. We were lucky enough to get it at exactly the same time with no adverts, which was a great thing to do. Thoughts and opinions, it was a great first show. I certainly think that Dany's bit was the weakest, even though we had her dragon sort of very slowly slipping away from her. You can see that she's genuinely terrified of these dragons, which are now not as cute and cuddly anymore. They're sort of a bit more aggressive, a bit more untamable, as it were. Certainly the strongest scenes were Tyrion's as well as Jaime's. I think Jaime is going to be a very, very central character in the new series, as well as obviously Tyrion, who seems, not too much in his comfort zone. He can't really talk himself out of everything, it seems, and it seems like from every direction he's sort of he's sort of stuck. He's married to Sansa, and then he can't do anything with Shay, as well as his sister is trying to possibly get him killed, who knows. And then obviously you've got the story of Jon up in the wall. There was a trial that they showed in the books. Is slightly different, but it was very well done. It was very well done. They sort of moved quite reasonably quickly through that. A few things that that might be of interest. Again, presuming you have watched it. If you haven't, if you've never seen Game of Thrones, watch it. What you're doing watching this, get out of YouTube, watch Game of Thrones. It is the best TV show ever. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about was the how some of the scenes differ in the book. In the books, they don't have a scene where the Stark sword is melted. You don't actually physically get to see that, nor does Tywin burn the wolf skin. However, it was a very cool way to start the new season. I think the fact that it's sort of taking or branching a bit off from the books purely because of the creative license shows that the series is in good hands. And D.B. Weiss, who is one of the producers and writers, was the director for this episode, which I thought was very, very cool. Brienne, who was with Jaime all the way through the last season, in the books, as soon as she gets to King's Landing, she's questioned about the death of Renly, and she's imprisoned in King's Landing, but here you see her free. So again, that was an interesting change. The last scene was by far the coolest. We saw Arya not as the scared little girl. Well, she was never quite scared, but she was never. She sort of held up her own in this last scene, and especially the way that she kills. She kills the guy in the end, and she repeats the words that he said to her friend when he killed him. Was great. I think we're going to see a really cool Arya over here. But in the books, in the end, the Hound himself is injured quite badly. But in the show, he's only got a couple of bruises in the show. Also in the books, Arya gets a pony, but Hound picks that for her because he knows that if she tries to run away, he can very easily chase her down in his horse. That bit isn't really shown. All you see him is all you see them is they're just walking out through the forest, having raped is the word to say the Lannister men. So great new start to the season. I certainly can't wait for next week. Hopefully I'll have some impressions for you. So yes, this is the end of the weekly fix for this week, and as always, thank you for watching.